Hi everyone, today we are going to be doing a walkthrough of the Pride Tarot. And one of these decades I will get this right. Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the Pride Tarot. And this is a collaborative deck by US Games. It was just released and began arriving in everyone's mailboxes that pre-ordered it this week. I know some people had advanced copies, like Benabel Wynn, who did a Sightsee the Tarot for one of the spreads in the guidebook. And Arwen Lynch also did a flip through of the deck. I'll link their videos below if you want to check those out. So the reason I purchased this deck is, one, they were donating $5 from the purchase of the deck to a organization that supports the LGBT community. The other is that I think people like to see themselves in tarot, and I know a lot of people will see themselves in this deck in various ways. I think what I may do is I'm going to post the video and do it as an instant premiere so that we can kind of maybe have a conversation about it. Since I can't really go live due to technical issues, I think that'll be a fun opportunity for me to maybe have some back and forth with some of you guys. So the deck, again, is a collaborative deck. The backs are actually the signatures of all of the artists, and it is reversible. Love is love, and it's a nice back. I really like the back. It's really pretty. The deck comes with a guidebook, and it's actually a chunky little guidebook. In fact, in the photographs for this, I actually thought this was a full-size book. I thought that the deck came in a bigger box with just the deck and a large book, but it actually all comes in one little box and is tarot size. So the book actually has black and white images of the cards with the signature of the artist, and then the artist name and title with a description below for all of the cards. Arwen Lynch actually wrote the descriptions for the cards for Marco Poieto. I'm going to butcher his name, right? And so at the end of the book, after all of the descriptions, there is an about section about the artist. And you'll recognize a lot of these artists from decks that I have, decks that you might have. Most of these artists either already have decks out there or have decks in progress. The about the artist doesn't include all of them, as far as I can tell, because I know one is missing that I wanted to mention. Some of the ones that you'll recognize from my channel will be Liz Blackbird, who did the Heart and Hands Tarot, and of course, Martinique Louise Fisher. I'm following her on Instagram. She is actually creating a deck right now that I can't wait to see finished. Her images are gorgeous. She doesn't have a title for the deck yet, but I'm looking forward to her deck. Of course, Patrick Valenza of the Deviant Moon did a card. More in here I wanted to mention. Robin Scott has a card in the deck, and it's actually a recreation of the card from her deck, the Urban Tarot. So some of these cards may actually be from existing decks that US Games owns. Let's see, who else? Oh, Christine Zillich of the Zillich Tarot did several cards as well, which you may have seen on my channel. And then there are two tarot spreads. This is the spread that Benabelle Wynn does in her Sightsee the Tarot. She always does a great job of walking people through doing a tarot spread. And then there is also this flag spread, which is um, based on this extra card, which identifies the various colors and what they stand for in the pride flag. Before we do a walkthrough of all 78 cards, I wanted to just look at a few of the cards that I either just really loved on my first glance through, or that brought out some thoughts on their own. I do love the Fool. It's a very traditional looking fool. Someone going out on a journey with a staff, a dog, and so. That's by Sam Hahn. The Hierophant, actually, the name of the card was changed to the Messenger, and so I thought that was nice. I know the Hierophant is a hard card for a lot of people, and no more so than the LGBT community. It's probably going to take me a little while to get used to the Lover's card. It looks like a protest or a parade or something going on there in the fight for equality, I suppose. And that's also by Robin Scott. I don't know if this is in her other deck or not. I don't remember it before, but it is beautiful. The one that is from her deck is the Four of Cups. This is the exact same image that is in the Urban Tarot. It's a gorgeous Four of Cups, especially when you read the description of the card that Cassandra Snow wrote in Querying the Tarot. I think this Six of Cups is so sweet. You can get a sense of the different styles of art that you see in a collaborative deck. Normally that doesn't really speak to me, but I am liking what I'm seeing in this deck. At least probably a third of it are cards that I just absolutely love. There are some cards that I could probably do without, but that's the thing about a collaborative deck. You're not going to like every card in the deck necessarily, but it is going to follow a theme. This is our Queen of Cups. I think this is just hilarious, and we'll get a closer look at it when we do our full walkthrough. It's just gorgeous. I love the artwork in this Hanged Man, and it's actually kind of interesting at first glance. It looks like a cool image of a hanged man with long blonde hair, but if you look closer, and we'll get to see this later, it's actually a half man, half woman hanging there, is what it looks like to me. Hence, half of the body being covered, for modesty's sake. I loved the Temperance card with this kind of watercoloring effect. That's by Ryan Edward. And then the Six of Wands is also, it reminds me so much of being in pride parades and celebrating the small victories, as it were, in just every day of being who you are in front of everyone. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and we're going to do a walkthrough of all 78 cards, and I'll let you know who created them along the way. I have put these in a different order. Normally, I would do a flip through of cards based on, the major arcana and then the suits. But due to the nature of this deck, I decided to divide them up into 5 categories. So the first cards we're going to see are cards that didn't necessarily appeal to me. And then I have cards that pretty much follow the RWS. And then I have cards that actually sort of speak to the meaning of
the RWS system, but are unique to, rather than copying the RWS. And then I have those that I think are actually LGBT oriented. Some of the cards, are by LGBT artists or by advocates for the LGBT community, but they're not, to me, not necessarily the cards are specific to the LGBT community. And then last, I'm going to show you my favorite cards. And so this is probably going to be a longer flip through than you might normally see, simply because I'm going to try to do a live premiere where we can talk about the cards as we go through them. Again, this is the Pride Tarot. It is what they're calling a collaborative deck. Now, I will say this. Most collaborative decks I avoid because there's not continuity of theme, but I felt compelled to get this one simply because I'm a member of the LGBT community, and some of the funds are going to an organization that supports the LGBT community. And but one of the things about this deck that's different than most collaborative decks is that this deck is not made up of all images specifically for this deck. Many of the images are from existing decks. So they pulled those images rather than creating new cards, I suppose. And in some cases that they actually work really well and are really great in the deck. So the first card here is Judgment. So they did make all of the characters female in this Judgment card, but this Judgment card, I'm just not a fan of the art style, the pastel-y look, and it looks more like, with the harp and stuff. It doesn't really scream Judgment to me. It's more of a relaxing kind of card, more of a, spend the day dancing under the clouds kind of thing. But that's just my personal opinion. So this card does follow the RWS, but it's just not an artistic style that I find appealing for me personally. There are a few black and white images in this deck. For the most part, the black and white images I just didn't find appealing. Here's our Knight of Swords, which it's okay. I mean, it's not the action that I'm used to with the Knight of Swords. Now, this card potentially could be one of my favorite emperors in that it portrays a female authority figure. The problem I have with this particular card is that it feels like it's disproportionate. Like the arms seem to be missing elbows or something. It's a little odd to me. This is the Queen of Wands. It's just a little bit muty for me. I don't really get the vibrant colors that I would like to see. And it's not a very clear image for me personally with my vision that I can really see it. This card obviously is from another deck, and I don't know the name of the deck, but obviously it was a water-based deck. And there are two cards from this artist in here. They just, I don't know, they don't scream LGBT to me. They aren't really appealing to me personally for the meaning of the cards. I really find this card problematic as a Pentacles because it's underwater. And if it was part of a complete deck of underwater or mermaids or whatever, then great. But I just don't find it very appealing for this Pride deck. This is the King of Pentacles, and it's just a little busy for me. I can't really tell what's going on in this card at all. So those are the ones that I just really didn't care for much. These are the ones that pretty much follow the RWS meaning and to some extent the imagery. You're going to see here Christine Zilich's take on the Hermit, which has a figure leaning up against a tree with fireflies flying in the air. And it's just a beautiful image. It's very traditional in my opinion. This is the Justice card. It is a pretty Justice card. It doesn't really scream LGBT to me, but it does give that point across for the Justice card. The Death card, again, very traditional imagery. They simply swapped out the flag. It's a gorgeous card. The Devil, again, very traditional imagery of the devil and then the two figures bound. The Tower, this is a collage card. I actually like this. I don't usually like collage, but it is a pretty card, but very traditional. Here's our Ace of Swords. They did attempt to like make it a little different. They put the high heels on there, which I think when I was reading the book was about something to do with drag queens, but pretty much still a very traditional card. This Eight of Swords is beautiful. Again, just basically a traditional RWS style card. The Nine of Swords, also by Christine Zilich. Very traditional image, beautiful artwork. This is the Page of Swords. I'm not certain how I feel about this image yet. It is somewhat traditional. There's a page swinging a sword, but I can't make everything out in this card to tell what's hair, what's clouds, or what's kind of going on back there with him. But it's a good image. Love this Queen of Swords. Again, you know, it's kind of traditional. A woman on a throne. There's a bird, some butterflies for air. And this is actually by Marco Proschetti. I can't pronounce his name, but I actually have his Blanco Nero, which is gorgeous. And at first I thought this was a reproduction of the Queen from there, but it's not. I actually like this one better than the one in his deck. And here's the King of Swords. Pretty standard king. It's a lovely card. Here's your Ace of Wands. Very traditional, beautiful. Love the salamander on the wand. This is the Five of Wands, which is by Liz Blackbird. It is very similar to her Heart and Hands Tarot Five of Wands, but she's actually got some flyers and things in there about various causes and fights that have gone on in the LGBT community. So that's pretty. This is a lovely card. It's the Knight of Wands. Apart from the artwork, I don't. It still speaks basically to the RWS system, I think. The Two of Cups, again, very traditional, just a different style of artwork. And I do love this image. It's really, really beautiful. The Seven of Cups, again, very traditional. They've added the rainbow there for each of the little cups. But apart from that, it's basically what we've come to expect in the Seven of Cups. Here's our Page of Cups. Basically a cat instead of a human, but it is still very much traditional. Beautiful Ace of Pentacles, very traditional, lovely artwork. This Eight of Pentacles is also very traditional. In fact, I think we've seen in many decks where they've kind of recreated this type of image with someone drawing or creating the pentacles rather than... yeah, just like the RWS. So, the Nine of Pentacles, a beautiful woman in a yellow dress. This is a great image. I love it. Still, you know, somewhat traditional. There's a Page of Pentacles, someone holding the pentacle. Lovely. So now we're starting the cards that are not necessarily traditional, but at the same time, I don't really get the LGBT focus from these cards like I do with some of the others. This card, the Magician, actually is a card that I wasn't sure I was going to like at all. And then I read about this, and so I'm going to read it to you because I wanted to share it with you so you can see why I actually love this image now that I've read about it. So this is by Felix Dion, and it says, here the magician of traditional tarot, taken from the form of a Nahual, a Mexican witch or sorcerer, who has the ability to transform into an animal at will. Nahuales are a traditional part of Mexican belief in both indigenous and mestizo culture. They are gender fluid, with the beard of a man, but the hairstyle and earrings of a woman. They have the ability to transform not only into a beast, but to change their gender as well. They hold the 4 elements of the 4 suits: the wand, the cup, the pentacle, and the sword, for they have control over all the necessary elements to manifest their intentions. They stand on a cliff, face overlooking a village, for they are between the heavens and the earth, and have access to both. They move through the world of the spirit and the world of men, and have found wisdom and knowledge. So yeah, this card actually, after reading the description, I fell in love with. So this is the High Priestess. It's a beautiful image. It says Polyphée. This is by the same artist who did the Paulina Tarot and the Joie de Vie. This is another Liz Blackbird image. It's a little less traditional, and it takes a minute to actually figure out what's going on. If you think of this as you're looking down on a room, so there's a disco ball over a dance floor. And you'll see various things going on around that room. The star, this is a beautiful card. It's not a traditional type of star card, but it is lovely and the artwork is great. This is a moon card. So this is not a traditional RWS image, but this is a beautiful moon card. The woman is described as being a moon goddess. It's very pretty. The Sun card, which is on the cover of the box. And it's a beautiful image. And, you know, the longer I look at this image, the more things I see in it. And I don't know if you'll be able to make it out here, but, I mean, there's actually things going on in the eyes. And there's all of these tiny little things that you can see around here, too. Just the joy and the wonder all around. It's really a beautiful card. Every time I look at it, I see something I've not seen before. This is the Two of Swords by Patrick Valenza. I believe this is the same card from his Deviant Moon, but since I don't have that deck, I'm not 100% sure. This is Ten of Swords. It's a really creepy image. I can't totally make out everything that's going on in it, but I think it's a picture of this person's inner demons, is what it's supposed to be. And so it's nice. I like it. This Two of Wands at first bothered me because it doesn't really, to me, look at first glance like that whole planning thing that I usually associate with that card. Here you've got two people, and basically these are two sides of the same person, the way I understand it. And you know, they're basically looking at, you know, all their options as they're planning ahead, I guess. You see them with their wands, and they're really just considering both sides of themselves as they are looking towards the future, I guess. This is by Jeremy Hush of the Hush Tarot. Now, the Hush Tarot didn't really speak to me because it's mostly an animal deck. This card actually is beautiful. I love it. There are the birds there in the nest, but there's also a human in the nest that's kind of looking out at you know, where they might head to next, where they might head from here. This is the Eight of Wands. And it's a beautiful image. It has a lot of motion going on in it. I think the inspiration was Frida Kahlo. Frida, did I say that right? Kahlo, Frida Kahlo. Um, and it's a gorgeous image. I think it speaks to the movement and motion of the eight. The Ten of Wands to me is it's different than what you would normally see when we talk about the Ten of Wands, because we usually associate that with struggle. And I've read the description for this card a couple of different times, and I'm still just not quite connecting this image with my idea of what the Ten of Wands means. But it's a lovely card, and I'm going to continue to try to figure it out for myself. Here's a King of Wands, which is a guy on a motorcycle. You know, not your traditional image, but and at first glance, I would have thought it would be a knight, because everybody puts knights on motorcycles in modern decks, but it's actually the king. So, here is the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is a little murky to me, but I can still make it out. And it's actually two women celebrating, you know, their accomplishments, their position in life that they've reached. It's a lovely image. It just doesn't have quite the contrast that I generally like to see in cards, and that's partly because of my vision. Here is our Ace of Cups. You know, it's a nice little fairy holding a cup, I suppose. It's cute. It's I don't really appeal to me per se, but it speaks to the meaning of the card. This one is really weird for me, the Nine of Cups. I've read the description and I kind of understand where they were going from it, but there's just so much creep factor in this. I have a hard time associating this with my general meanings for the card. Here's the Lovers. So these are where we're going to start getting into the ones that, to me, really speak to LGBT issues in the community and actually show people that are part of that community. And this card, I believe, is actually new, was created for this deck by Robin Scott. It's not in her Urban Tarot. It wasn't the Lover's card, at least. And it took me a minute to kind of connect with this as the Lover's card, because usually I associate the Lover's cards not just with the love and the commitment, but the choice to make that bond, that relationship. And this has a lot of, like, for me, a lot of like struggle in it, you know, the fight for equality and marriage rights and that kind of thing. So I'm living with this card and getting used to this card as the Lovers. I mean, they do have two people holding hands there in the front, but it's just everything else going on in here, you know, makes it a little bit more of a struggle card for me. Here's the Chariot. It's very traditional imagery. They used Caitlin in it. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. They've used the trans flag as the rather than the stars fabric at the top. It's a nice image. I love this Temperance card, the kind of watercolors behind the person as they are pouring the liquid. This World card is actually from Christy C. Rhodes' deck. I believe it's Next World. Yeah. I don't have that deck. It's not one that really speaks to me, but I do like this image. It's not often you see male portrayed in the World card. If it's not a female, then it's usually like a world tree or, you know, a universe or something like that. Very, very atypical. So it's beautiful. The Five of Swords, a very genderqueer person struggling there, fighting back kind of thing. There's the Seven of Wands, kind of the same idea, but by a different artist. that fighting back, standing up for yourself, that kind of thing. Um, Three of Cups. This one is a little weird for me because to me it looks like there's a couple celebrating and then another person celebrating, and I'm used to seeing this as like three people celebrating together, which I guess they're at the same event, but that was a little odd for me. But this is still a lovely card, and it speaks to the meaning of it. And this is the Ten of Cups from the Urban Tarot. It's a beautiful card. Um, yeah. I mean, it's very much reminiscent of the RWS, but in modern day with a lesbian couple, assuming that's a lesbian couple. And then the Seven of Swords. This one, I keep wanting to sing one of the Village People songs when I see this. This Navy guy with the sword, struggling with them a little bit there. So this is the Four of Wands. This is a beautiful image. I love everything about it. Five of Cups. So Stephen Bright did 2 cards in this deck, and they were my favorite cards. And the only deck I know of his is the Spirit Within, which I don't have yet. I would love to see a deck done in this style, though. When you see one of my favorite cards in a little bit, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they're just beautiful. Our Two of Pentacles, a very fun card. There's more people in it than you would normally see, but I think it's awesome. Awesome. We've got our Three of Pentacles. This is definitely a different take on that working together to build kind of feeling that we get from the Three of Pentacles. It's about parents and grandparents and friends and family standing up for their loved ones, trying to build a better life for them. So I do love this card. This is the Six of Pentacles, our giving and receiving card. And this is, I guess, a drag contest. And the winner is sharing with the others her spotlight. And now for my favorite cards in the deck. This is just a beautiful image for the Fool. And I feel like I've seen this card before, but I don't own the deck that it's in, if it actually exists. It could be unique to this deck, but I think it's a pretty standard interpretation of the Fool. But I just love this artwork and the colors they used. Love that daisy on the backpack with a little rainbow heart in the middle. This Empress is just gorgeous. You can see all of the various kind of nurturing, growth kind of things, nature things that are there. Yeah, it's just beautiful. The Messenger. So this was a card that was renamed. This is typically the Hierophant. I mean, I kind of like this take. It takes it out of the religious domain more to a political or social background. Yeah, it's nice. So the Hanged Man is one of my favorites. They say this person is androgynous, but to me, this actually looks like it's one side is female and one side is male. I don't know if you can get that either, but so if you look, the features on this side with this covered breast are much more smooth and feminine, and then on this side they're more muscular and toned, and the chest doesn't necessarily have a breast like we would typically see on a woman, but the chest of a man. So but this is a beautiful image, and you'll see the cosmic egg there in one of the hands. I love that. This is one of my 2 favorite Three of Swords ever. The other one being the Lightseer's Tarot. I love the stained glass effect, and I like when I read about this, they related this to the idea of, churches having persecuted the LGBT community for so many years, and kind of, now trying to take something back, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, it's a lovely image. It really is. That's beautiful. Beautiful. And I feel like I've seen a deck with this kind of like border around it, but I can't place it. The Four of Swords I just love this image of a person sitting under a tree with their dog, relaxing. Wonderful, wonderful take. This is just a beautiful card. I don't usually like collage decks, but this card is my favorite Six of Swords I have ever seen. I just think it's so beautiful, and gosh, I feel at home in this card. And I suppose that's because I grew up on a river, and this kind of reminds me of that, people in a boat flowing with the water, and there's trees on the side, and yeah, love that card. Six of Wands, celebrating victory. This just takes me back to all of the Pride events that I've ever been to, and the celebrations that happen as we gain the rights that people want to take from you. So, yeah. And I just love that art style too. That's great. This card, the Nine of Wands, is actually gorgeous. And the longer you look at it, I mean, it's a very typical kind of image you would see for a Nine of Wands. But as you look closer and closer at it, you see more and more stuff. Like, see, there's the triple moon, and then there's words there wrapped around that coffin. And I can't make out everything right now as I'm recording, but there's just all these little things and just on the jeans and whatnot that really connect this card to that, final stand feeling we get with the Nine of Wands. You've finished the battle, but you still got to watch yourself. This is probably one of my favorite Page of Wands ever. I think this is just a great depiction of the energy that I want to see in that card. And yeah, it's great. This is actually from Robin Scott's Urban Tarot, and this is actually one of my favorite cards in that deck. I read Cassandra Snow's book, Querying the Tarot, which uses these images, and when she talks about this card, it makes so much sense. Now, for a personal level, I wouldn't have immediately connected with this card because I have never been in a long-term relationship, and I don't really find myself being one of those people who has to be in a relationship constantly. If it happens, it happens. I'm fine. But some people always want to be in a relationship, and this is kind of that point where you kind of just, you're sitting there together, but you've lost a little bit of interest. There's just a little bit of that feeling of you don't notice what you have going on. And I never really seen that in the context of like a relationship, which I think is awesome. You're just really comfortable and just kind of, yeah, I love this card. I love this card. This style even, to me, speaks to the nostalgia that you get from the Six of Cups. And I love that it's, but it's based on another culture. So, yeah, it's just beautiful. This Eight of Cups is probably one of my favorite Eight of Cups I've seen. I love these colors and this imagery. It's so bold, and it really captures the meaning of the card. Yeah, I'd love to see a deck done in this style. If it exists already, that would be awesome to see it. But if it doesn't, let's get one made, guys. Knight of Cups. Okay, yeah, this is like one of my favorite Knight of Cups ever. Didn't fall into any of the pitfalls of trying to modernize it by putting the guy on a motorcycle or whatnot. This just screams to me, that romantic kind of energy that we associate with the Knight of Cups. And yeah. like I said, if Stephen Bright actually has a deck out with this kind of artwork, I would love to see it. So let me know if you know anything. I did Google some of this and didn't find it, but yeah, I love that image. So this is Queen of Cups. It's actually the one that they used on the cover of the guidebook. And this is actually from, I want to say it's from Next World by Christy Road. And I just love this image, first of all, it being a man instead of a woman. It's kind of this pirate, but you can see how this pirate just has this soft, kind of, loving energy, with a teddy bear and even the flowers and different things going on there. I really love this image. This King of Cups, I think is just gorgeous. This boat as the crown. He looks so calm and relaxed and in control of himself. It's just the energy that I want to see in the King of Cups. It's gorgeous. The Five of Pentacles. So this is one of those cards that stands out. And it's because it depicts something that is totally real and happens in real life. And yet it also captures the meaning we typically associate with a card, the Five of Pentacles, which is that basically that we're lost or we are abandoned. We are on our own, while there is a place, a group of people who could be helping us. And so here we see a child that apparently has been kicked out of their home because of who they are. And this is something that happens all the time to kids who are LGBT. And that's why I enjoy, well, I don't enjoy it, but I feel obligated to support organizations that specifically deal with homeless youth, because many of the youth that are homeless because of they're part of the LGBT community, and their families have rejected them. And so Lost and Found Youth here in Atlanta is one of the places that I support. So if you have any thought to give some money away, think about them. Here is our Seven of Pentacles. And I love this image. It kind of connects the hard work to spiritual growth and development. And finally, we have our Queen of Pentacles, which is just gorgeous. I love this artwork. I love the fact that this is a gender diverse person. Everything about it, just color selection and all. It's wonderful. So that's a walkthrough of the 78 cards of the Pride Tarot. I hope that you have enjoyed that, and I hope that I'll get to chat with you guys about this in person. Until next time, good journeys.